Jumping right in, we want to make sure that our base is set. As you can see, I have my hair in some straight back cornrows. You want to make sure that your foundation is as flat as possible so that your wig will also lay flat. Next, I am going in with some leave-in conditioner. Just because we're putting on a wig doesn't mean we should neglect our hair underneath. So I'm spraying this on to maintain my hair's moisture and rubbing it in diligently. To lock in that moisture and further aid in hair growth, I am applying oil to my scalp and massaging it in. Then using what is remaining on my fingers, I am massaging that into my edges or my hairline, massaging it in very well, making sure to also get my ends. On this tissue, I have just a bit of rubbing alcohol, and I'm using this to clean up around my hairline and on the skin to remove any excess oil or dirt that could interfere with our glue adhering. My next step would be to gel down or slick back my edges if there were any flyaways, but I have had them securely tucked into my braids, so we're going to skip that step for now and go straight into installing our bald cap. I am using an HD wig cap, and I'm going to put that on and pull it down as far as I can get it to go so that it will lay flat. Normally I'll pull it over my face like this, but because I have lashes on, it was a bit uncomfortable, so I just pulled it to where I could see. Using the scissors, I am cutting a small hole into the cap and pulling my ear through, and I'm going to do this on both sides so that the wig cap lays flat around my ears. Once I'm done, this is what it looks like. We are going to go ahead now and secure this to our head. Using the Ebin Lace Bond Adhesive Spray, I am generously spraying this across my hairline and blending it in, as you can see. Afterward, I will go in with my blow dryer on the cool air setting and blow dry this until it is completely dry. Remember, this is spray-on adhesive glue, so using hot air will only make it sticky and tacky, and it won't dry down properly. So ensure that you're using the cool air setting to get this properly dried down. Once it's dry, I am cutting off the excess wig cap because we are not going to need it. And I am pulling this up until about my hairline. I'm leaving just a little bit of a buffer because I do like to apply my glue on the cap instead of like right up against my hairline. So I am cutting this, leaving a little bit of the cap in front. With the excess in the back, I will be tying this into a knot and then cutting off the long strands so that they are not peeking through at the back of our wig when it's installed. Next, I am tucking in that knot as well as gathering like my loose hairs or any flyaways, really tucking it into the cap so that nothing is sticking out and we have a clean base like this. Now that our cap is secured, we are going to start applying our layers of glue. And as you can see, I have almost used this to its entirety and I didn't have another one available at the moment. So I'm grabbing my rat tail comb to get what is remaining out of the jar. And then I'm going to start applying my glue. I am concentrating the glue mostly on the wig cap and a little bit on my skin, which is why I said I like to leave a buffer earlier. But I'm also spreading it out to about 1 inch or 1.5 inches because you want to give enough surface area for your lace lace to stick to. If you apply just a thin strip of glue, I highly doubt that your lace will adhere and stay on for a longer period of time. So I am giving enough real estate for this to stick onto, as well as I am using very thin layers because the thinner you blend this out, the faster it will dry. So do not go in with like heavy amounts of glue at a time. Once I'm done applying the first layer, this is what it looks like. As you can see, the middle portion is pretty much ready to go. It has dried clear, and once it's clear like this is how you know you are ready to go in with your next layer. And the sides were still a bit white, so I did give a little bit of time for them to dry down before adding the next layer. I did 3 layers in total because I do want this to stay on for at least a week, and I am briefly hitting this with my blow dryer just for a few seconds to speed up the drying process a bit. But I am not drying this down completely. You want your glue to be tacky so that your lace will just grip onto it, and I'll show you what I mean in a moment. As you can see here, my glue has dried clear, and this is what I mean by you want your glue to be tacky. As you see, the comb is sticking onto that glue. That lets you know that it is ready for the lace to be put on, and once you apply your lace, it will just grip onto the glue in the same way. So here's my wig, but before I put her on, I forgot to cut out these combs, so I'm going to go ahead and snip those off really quick. The only one I'm going to leave on is the one in the back, and then I will also cut off that excess lace right there because we don't need that either. But I particularly don't care for these because I don't use them, as well as cutting them off just helps my cap to lay as flat as possible, but that's a personal preference. If you do use them, then definitely leave them in. I then went on to put my wig on, and before I start pressing anything in, I made sure to make sure that the wig cap and the lace is properly adjusted to my head and it is sitting exactly where I need it to be. Once I am happy with the placement, I went ahead to grab my comb, and as demonstrated, I am using the teeth of the comb to really press in the lace into that glue and make sure that it is properly adhered, and I'm doing this in sections. Before laying down the sides, I'm going to cut off the excess lace around my ear to ensure that the sides lay down flat, and then I will continue to press the lace into the glue with my comb. Before tying this down with the elastic band, I am customizing the hairline of the wig to better suit my face. This is totally optional, but for me, I wanted a more realistic look. So I went on to section the part of the hairline where I wanted to pluck out the hair. And as you can see, I am taking small bits and pieces and pulling them out gently. Of course, holding down the lace so that it doesn't lift from the glue. And I'm going to continue doing this all across my hairline until I'm satisfied with the result. The easiest way to do this is obviously to just cut it off or cut off the section of the lace with a pair of scissors, but I went ahead to just pull it out this way. So if you're gonna do this like I'm doing, please do be careful and work in very small sections, because I did kind of get too confident here and I ended up tearing the lace by applying too much force, as you can see. Yeah, but thankfully it didn't terribly tear it, it kind of just tore it right where the hairline is. So I believe God saved me from this. But if you're gonna do it this way, do be careful. After such a traumatic experience, I took that as God's sign to tell me it's time to move on to the next step. So that's what I am doing. I'm going to proceed to tie down the lace with my elastic band, and I stretched it out as far as I could and put it right on top of the lace where the glue is and tied it as tight as I could stand it. I am going to keep this on while I style the rest of the hair, and this will give ample time for the lace to really be pressed into that glue and melt down. As well as I just cut off the excess lace that was in front of my face so that I could better see. I decided I wanted some curls in this hair, so before applying any heat, I went in with my heat protector serum. Placing a few drops into my hands, I went ahead to then thoroughly distribute it throughout the hair. I decided I wanted to put a part in before I styled, but my comb unfortunately decided to give up on me. That did not stop me though. I still used the end of it to create my part, and I decided to go with a side part today. So I'm carving out my part just to give me like a rough estimate on where I want my part to be and how I want it to look, and then we will perfect this later on in the install. To hold the hair in place, I am using my hair mousse in replacement to the wax stick I normally used. Unfortunately, this day I did not know where I left my wax stick, so I needed a replacement, and this was the next best thing. So I'm going to apply some of this to the hairs where I've created my part, and afterward I'm going in with my blow dryer to dry everything down, as well as using my comb to flatten it out as much as possible and comb out any kinks. Once the mousse has dried down, I am going in with my hot comb to now really flatten out any humps and bumps at the top of my wig, as well as around my part, to ensure that everything is nice and flat and clean. As well as I am using my comb to furthermore carve out my part, cleaning it up and getting it to look how I desire it to be. And I'm going to repeat this process until I am satisfied with the result. Now I am finally moving on to actually styling the hair, and as stated earlier, I'm going to be putting some curls in her, so I just parted out a small section here. To create the curls, I am using a flat iron. I wanted to try this because it's been a long time since I've done curls with a flat iron, and on the first try, we did not get very good results. At first I thought maybe the iron isn't hot enough, or maybe I just don't remember how to do this. But I went ahead to try it again, this time moving a lot more slowly. As demonstrated, I am wrapping the hair around the flat iron, wrapping it all the way until I get to the end, and this yielded way better results, as you can see. So I was pretty excited, y'all. Yeah, that curl was given. Hopefully, my demonstration explains my technique better than I can, but I'm going to go ahead and show it again here. This time, I did not allow the curl to fall like the other one. When I got to the end, I held the curl in my hands to allow the heat to disperse and cool down while in my hands so that the curl will hold its shape longer. And I was getting pretty excited. She was looking good. She was looking real good. Until I realized later on that I forgot to cut layers into the wig. So I had to stop the curling process to add in my layers. Thankfully, I hadn't gone too far up. Obviously, this is optional, but if you're going to curl your hair, you need layers. Layers just add an additional level of volume and dimension, so I had to stop to do that. And I'm keeping it fairly light because this is a short wig and I didn't want to cut it down too much. And once I'm satisfied with the result, I will continue with the curling process. Once I was through, this is what she looks like. She looks good. She looks cute, but I did realize that some of the curls had already began to fall and flatten out, which was kind of disappointing, and I wished I had sprayed them with some hairspray to hold them, but I realized later that wouldn't have helped either, simply because this hair is incapable of holding a curl for very long. Moving on, I am finally taking off this elastic band, and it was so satisfying. Truly a breath of fresh air. The next thing I'm going to do is to cut off the excess lace. I am using these cooking shears that have these pre-engraved grooves in them, which would enable me to cut straight through the lace and still get a zigzag pattern. But if you're using regular scissors, do not cut straight through. You want to cut in a zigzag motion like so, and I'll show you what that looks like. Cutting this way allows the lace to better blend into your skin. If you were just to go ahead and cut straight across the lace, the line or demarcation of where your lace begins would be a whole lot more visible and harder to blend in than if you would have cut the lace in a zigzag pattern. I will proceed to repeat this on the other side, cutting off all the extra lace, but I am leaving a little bit on the sides as you saw. I needed it to cover the sides of the wig cap where there is no hair because for some reason this is not a full 13x6. It kind of stops short at the sides, but we're working with it. Right here, I'm just showing you the pattern of the lace that I've cut. As you can see, it's not straight across, but it is like jagged and zigzag. This is what you want for your lace to blend into your skin seamlessly. To tighten up these loose ends that are sticking up, I'm taking some glue on what used to be the end of my rat tail comb. Lifting up the lace, I'm applying the glue in thin layers, the same way we did before, to make sure that the front is also secured and melted. If you did 3 layers before, make sure to do 3 layers here. If you did 2 before, make sure to do that here, just to ensure that there aren't any lifted areas that would compromise the integrity and the lasting power of your install. Granted, the results and the melt that you are going to get is highly dependent on the quality of products or glue that you're using, as well as the quality of your lace. So for the best melt and for the best results, definitely ensure that you're using some high quality glue, as well as your unit's lace is good. Alright, now that I'm done with my layers, I'm using the comb to press the lace into the glue. Then I'm going to grab my blow dryer and hit this very briefly on the cool setting to help the glue dry down. Before we melt this down further and tie it with the elastic band, what I'm doing here is just perfecting my part. Once I'm happy with how that looks, I'm going to grab my adhesive spray and we're going to use this to further melt down the lace. And because this is an adhesive glue, this will also provide an extra layer of hold. Working in sections, I'm spraying this across the hairline and dabbing it in with my finger, and then immediately grabbing my blow dryer on the cool setting and blow drying this until it is completely dry, before moving on to the next section just to ensure that the lace does not lift. I will then go on to repeat this step all across my hairline until I am done. Once the spray is completely dry, I grabbed my elastic band, again stretching it as far as I could, and I'm going to tie down the lace and allow time for that product to melt it down. While I wait on that, I'm going to use my concealer to clean up my part. I squeezed a little bit of it out onto the back of my hand and blended it out. Then I'm going to take this and use it to carve out that line in which I parted. This will help to clean it up as well as give it a skin tone or a more realistic look. And once I apply it, I'm using my finger to blend it out softly because I don't like that harsh concealer line type of look. If you do, then you can leave it like that, but I like more of a softer, realistic look, so I'm blending it out with my finger, and I'm going to repeat this step until I am satisfied with how the part looks. After about 10 minutes, I went ahead to remove the elastic band from my head, and this is what we're looking like. She looks good. I mean, she's alright. The lace is melted because this is HD lace, but as you can see, there are some like white patches on the side of my head where the glue did not dry down, so we have to fix that. To blot it out, I'm going to use my lace tint mousse, and I'm applying some of this to the back of my comb, but you can also use a brush as well. I went on to apply this to those areas, and then the remainder of it I applied all across the hairline just to get rid of any white cast or white patches and make everything more skin-like and blend it in. Then I blow dried this on cool air until it was completely dry, as well as I did repeat this process all across my hairline until I was satisfied with the result. Alright, so we are nearing the end here. Once I was done with that, I grabbed my comb and just kind of combed out those stiff hairs in the front of the hairline so that they are fluffy and not like stuck to my head. I then went on to put down my hair to finish concealing my part. I also went in with my hot comb once more to flatten out the top of my head and get rid of any humps and bumps. At this point, we are pretty much done. I'm combing out my curls, or what used to be curls. As you can see, they have fallen completely and I was so disappointed, but I went ahead to comb it out and work with it anyway, trying to see how I could shape it, curl it, or do something to it to make it look okay. But here's the end result. I think it came out alright. Or what do you think? Drop me a comment down below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to join the family if you found this helpful or if you like any of my content. But guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you, but always remember, Jesus Christ loves you more, and I'll catch you on the next one.